TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting Premier Podcast TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And joining me tonight is Ronnie Adams, the screaming boy himself. How you doing, Ronnie?
I'm well. How are you, buddy?
Tag team back again. This is your second appearance this week.
And if you didn't remember, if you watched the first one, you remember this, and I'm the dragon guy.
Well, tonight, Ronnie, our favorite show is Sweet Tooth.
Yeah. Wow, I was way too excited for that.
We talked about the comic book on Monday, and now we're back on Thursday here this week to do the companion piece, talk about the show, the whole reason why we're doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Sweet Tooth is an American fantasy drama streaming television series developed by Jim Mickey. It's based on the comic book of the same name by Jeff Lemire, which we talked about on Monday, and premiered on Netflix on June 4th, 2021. So we can dig into this a little bit more now.
Yeah.
So, I always try to find like something having to do with comics for us to talk about. Like, we talked about Stumptown a little ways back, and we talked a little bit about this on Monday. If I had not said, hey, I want to talk about Sweet Tooth and I want to talk about it with you, would you have known about the show? Would you have sought it out?
I wouldn't have sought it out, but I would have found out about it through Netflix. I'm always browsing their originals just to see if I can find some diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have found out about it, and through that, I would have found out about the comic book. But it's not something I would have sought out.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you know? I mean, you didn't know it was a comic book until I pointed it out, if I remember correctly. So, like, Netflix does a pretty good job of promoting their original stuff, and they put out trailers. It was a big rollout when they announced the show, and they had a trailer for it and everything. They made a big deal about it on social media.
Yeah.
So would it have? Again,
that's also why I didn't see it.
So without me pointing it out to you, do you think you would have noticed it?
Eventually, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would have seen it on there, and I'm like, why does that little boy have horns? Oh, they're antlers.
Hey, you with the horns? What's that?
Hey, you with the horns? What you looking like that for? What was that, Ronnie? But no, it's I like weird stuff. I like to find some, like I said, some diamond in the rough. So I give certain things a chance. I was a big fan of The Ranch.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
And I actually never seen The Ranch.
That was kind of a sleeper for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Not a comedy, right?
Yeah, it's a situational comedy, my friend.
Okay.
Situational comedy.
That's why I avoided it. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of like television comedy. Like, there are certain things that
I get it.
I've watched, like we did the Fuller House series because, Pat's way into nostalgia, and I'll watch just about anything if someone's willing to talk about it with me. So why won't anyone say hello to me? So if somebody says like, hey,
because you're weird, sir.
If someone says to me like, hey, I want to watch this show and I'll talk about it with you, I'm like, oh, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Funny thing, just as an aside, funny about our group of friends, fellow podcasters and whatnot, you never know what they're going to shit on and what they're going to be excited for, because you could like, they could come to you and be like, yeah, I'm excited about this particular show. And like, okay, what about the same exact other show that's just like it? No, that's garbage.
F that.
Yeah, I don't understand the difference, but sure.
It's personal preference, and then it's also grumpiness. As I have, and I know I do it once, in a while. I'll post the the Muppet duo, Statler and
Waldorf and Statler.
Waldorf and Statler, and referring to a couple of our friends in our group chat. And it's just like they're kind of stuck in their ways about certain things, you know.
The one that gets you in trouble is the meme that you put up of the one guy doing like this, and he's like, "Let people like stuff."
They hate that, don't they?
Yeah,
I love that one.
So, what was the connection from Sweet Tooth to the Ranch? Was there anybody that worked on both shows, or it was just like, "Oh, hey, that was something I was interested in"?
That was absolutely just an "oh, hey." That's the first one I can think of.
Okay, gotcha.
The other one was the Kevin James race comedy, and I didn't know if you knew that was a thing or not.
I did, and there was a part of me that was interested in watching it and talking about it with somebody, and nobody wanted to.
It's not bad.
Okay, really? Okay,
it's a comedy. It's a sitcom. You know, it's got a laugh track. I think it's just. I mean, it's King of Queens light. You know, but I mean, I'm a Kevin James fan. You know, mainly because I mean, he's like a genuinely nice guy, from what I understand. He's not a bad actor. A heck of a martial artist.
Is he really?
Yeah. I mean, here comes the boom.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Here
him.
Comes the Boom, but I mean, you know, I
didn't
know how much of that was acting and how much of it was like he's like legitimately training.
No, he's legitimate. He has legitimately trained. Like Joe Rogan has said on his podcast that Kevin James is a martial artist. He can fight.
Oh, wow, good for him.
Yeah. So I was really impressed with that, because you can tell if you've watched MMA, if you've watched boxing and stuff, or professional wrestling. That's the big one. You can tell that people have never done these things in their lives in certain shows and movies. Like I watched the Fuller House wrestling episode. And like a couple of moves they actually pulled off, like a Hurricane Rana and a dive off the second rope and stuff. I was like, okay, they had somebody on there training with them. But you can tell they've never done it before that, ever. You know, but he was snapping off those kicks and punches like he had been training in this. I did a little research, and he had trained in it. Sorry, that's my Kevin James Stan moment for the podcast, which is weird.
It's fine. Well, you know, like we did the Big Show because some of us are wrestling fans, and you know, we did a review for that. You know, another one we did a review for was the Tony Danza show. Yeah.
Is that the one where he with Josh Groban, or maybe his son was a cop? Yes,
that's the one.
Yeah, the guy who plays his son is a musician. He's not an actor. I think it's Josh Groban.
We did a review for that. I don't think anyone gave a shit, but it was one of those where, again, I had one friend, you know, one mutual friend of ours. I don't know why I'm being shy about this. He's on the podcast, Pat Mullen.
Yeah.
You know, Pat Mullen's sort of the driving force behind a lot of these. He's like, I want to talk about the Big Show. I'm like, sure. You know, I want to talk about this Tony Danza show because I love the 80s. He's totally 80s Pat Mullen.
Oh, yeah.
And we've done that one too. But like then it came to that Kevin James show and everyone went, no.
Well, I didn't catch it because I've got the group chat on mute most of the time.
I don't blame you.
Because half the stuff I don't care about. It's when you start posting stuff like, hey, who wants to talk about this? That's when I care about it. Or you know, there's a few of us that engage in conversation in there. I would have said, hey, if you can't find anybody else, I'll hop on with you. Because it wasn't bad. I mean, it was a cute little show, man. You don't find many shows that are family oriented and that are actually good production anymore.
I could probably watch that one with Melissa and she wouldn't turn her nose up at it.
Probably not. It's got a little bit of a love story.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
What do you need?
I was going to get my sweet mask on.
Okay, go get your drugs. Remember, Jonas, that you don't like the drugs, but the drugs like you. All right, get off my show.
Or just say no. That's a good one too.
Hey, let's talk about Sweet Tooth.
Hey, let's do that.
Let's talk about Sweet Tooth. All right, so let's get into. I'm going to play a little clip show here that I cribbed from YouTube as we talk about this. All right, so the premise: 10 years ago, the Great Crumble, a virus pandemic, killed many people in the world and led to a mysterious emergence of hybrid babies born part human, part animal. Unsure if hybrids are the cause of the result of the virus, many humans fear and hunt them. Gus, a half-deer hybrid, lives in the wilderness with his father, who gets killed by men in the woods when Gus is 9 years old. Gus discovers a box buried by his father beneath a tree. A box contains what Gus believes is a photograph of his mother with the word Colorado written on it. A year after his father's death, Gus sets a fire before deciding to leave and his father's spot in the wilderness to find his mother. The fire alerts nearby hunters to his location, and they try to murder Gus for sport. However, Gus speaks, and the hunters are visibly surprised. They are soon killed by Tommy Jeppard, a lone traveler who afterwards tries to leave Gus behind, except that Gus follows him, very much like the comic book. Gus insists Jeppard escort him to his mother in Colorado. Jeppard resists, but ends up protecting Gus as the latter won't leave him alone. And so Tommy Jeppard is played by Nonzo Anazi, who was in Game of Thrones. We have other characters here. Adil Akhtar, who plays Dr. Aditya Singh. Stephanie Levi Owen, who is Bear, the leader and founder of the Animal Army. Ganya Ramirez as Amy Eden, a former therapist who creates a safe haven for hybrids called The Preserve. Aliza Villani, who is Ronnie Singh, Dr. Aditya Singh's wife, who has the sick. James Brolin is the narrator, and Will Forte as, was it Pubba, who is Gus's father. All right, so episode 1, Out of the Deep Woods. Hey, that sounds familiar. Dr. Aditya Singh goes to work one day and discovers a deadly virus is taking over the world. At the same time, hybrid children start being born that are half human and half animal, and with no one agreeing which came first, the virus or the hybrids or the chicken or the egg. Meanwhile, before the collapse of society known as the Great Crumble, a father runs away into Yellowstone National Park with his dear hybrid baby, Gus. Dr. Singh discovers the symptom of the sick is an uncontrollable, shaky pinky finger and rushes to the hospital to save his wife, Ronnie, who has the symptom. Gus's father, over many years, built a secure base in the deep woods and is referred by Gus to Pubba. Pubba is constantly afraid of the outside world, but as Gus grows, so does his curiosity about it. And one day he steps outside the fence to venture after the deer he believes is his mother.
Weird, but okay.
Despite Pubba's warnings about the outside world being fire and telling him that his mother is gone, later a man claiming to be looking for his sister arrives at the fence and tells Pubba that everyone in the outside world thinks the hybrids are responsible for the sick, which still exists after 10 years. After hiding Gus, Pubba kills the man but also contracts the sick, which quickly kills him. In his frustration, Gus starts a daytime fire, which attracts the attention of poachers who lay a candy trap that Gus easily falls for. Gus, however, is quickly saved by Tommy Jeppard, who Gus calls Big Man. While distrusting of Big Man at first, Gus eventually lays out a plan with a map and a picture to find his mother in Colorado and chases after Big Man to seek the latter's help on his adventure. Ronnie Adams, what did you think of this first episode?
It brought me in. It really did. I was really pleased by this for the first episode. And I actually went out and recommended it to a few people to see what they thought as well. Mm-hmm. Because in the first episode, Will Forte, I don't care what you say, he's a good actor. Mm-hmm. I was really shocked and really pleased by his whole portrayal in this. It wasn't the I'm religious, so I'm an idiot kind of deal. It was, the same thing we said about the comic book, or I said about the comic book. But it was just, it was a loving father trying to keep his son safe. You know, maybe not the best way possible, but he was pulling it off. It was actually really, really, really good. I was really, 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 really pleased by it. I'm getting all my episodes mixed together now. Big Man comes in episode 1, right?
Yep.
Dude is so much better on the show than he is in the comic book.
Yeah, in the comic book, he's kind of a bag of shit. Here, they get into it later in the series, but it's a much more layered character who's sort of haunted by the decisions of his past. There's a really great speech he'll give later on, monologue, where he starts talking about how when I think it's when the hybrid babies are born, he ended up having one and he was afraid and he left, and when he finally got his shit together, he came back and his wife and the child were gone. He's always felt guilty about that. and it's a great bit that he does.
It is actually, it's wonderful. It gave I can't remember I know his name, but I can't remember how to pronounce it, and that's bad. But let me look at his name again. Nonso Ananzi. What? How do you say it?
I said it, and who knows if I'm right. But Nonso Anazi.
Nonso Anazi. There we go. Nonso Anazi. He gives the characters life. He gives him personality and attitude, and he just doesn't. He's just not this big scary guy that is just a big scary guy. He goes around and fixes little things, and around. If you're gonna raise crops, then you need to do this. You need to not light a fire in the day. You need to do this. And he's giving him tips, and he's like, "All right, I'm out." And finally, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go with you." He's like, "No, you're not."
Right.
And it was, ow, why do I keep doing that? It was good to see, man, it was good to see some, going back to the well, it's good to see some character development in this show.
Yeah.
Where I feel like we got nothing. Of course, we only read the first 5 issues, but still, I've read comic books where they give all kinds of character development in the very first issue.
Yeah.
And
it's so many.
These hybrid babies are just adorable.
It's so funny that like the same criticism we had about Stumptown, and that had like 26 some odd episodes. But even within the first few episodes, we got enough character development out of our main characters to keep us invested in the rest of the show. Whereas when we read that first trade, and I think at the time, like we were talking about this, that first trade, we didn't know if there was going to be more to it. I mean, this one,
right.
On the one hand, I'm sure Jeff Lemire assumed he was going to be able to tell his story over a full run, but you never know with comics.
Absolutely.
You never know when you're going to get canceled. And could you imagine if this had gotten canceled after 5 issues? What story was there here?
There was no story. It was, there was a little bit of one, but not really. Wow, that would have been, wow. I didn't even think about that. Oh, oh no.
All right, let's move on to episode 2. Sorry about all the dead people. Fantastic.
Huh.
The narrator introduces Amy, who was the therapist before the Great Crumble and who barricaded herself in her office for weeks during the fallout. When she eventually emerges into the deserted city, she is passed by a stampede of elephants and is inspired to go to the zoo, which she makes her home. Gus persistently follows Big Man and insists Big Man take him to Colorado. Big Man gets angry when Gus eats all of his food and his medicine, the latter of which Gus says is horrible candy. But Gus leads them to a visitor center from where he can smell food. At the center, they find living there a couple and their human son, not much older than Gus. After being recognized as a former last man by the mother through the branding on his chest, Big Man insists that he only wants to stay one night to wait out the storm and doesn't want trouble. The father who also recognizes Big Man as a former pro football player. Dr. Singh temporarily treats the sick and Ronnie through experimental medicine provided by Dr. Bell. When he goes for a refill, he discovers that Dr. Bell wants him to take over her work as she is dying from terminal cancer. She has noted all of her findings in a book, but her gruesome work goes against everything Dr. Singh believes in. Big Man begins to think the family at the center may be better company for Gus, but soon the center is attacked by last men who Big Man kills with a big bear trap, and the family asks Big Man and Gus to leave for fear their family might become collateral damage. Big Man and Gus continue to the next town. Amy discovers a hybrid pig baby outside the zoo. So a bit of a slow burn here. We're getting more details. We're seeing the group, on their adventure and all of that.
Yeah.
I thought I always, with a lot of these TV shows, a very common thing for me to say is, we are, it's starting off slow, starting off slow. They're kind of dribbling out some of the details. We're getting to know our characters, but I have to say, there isn't anybody in this cast that I don't particularly dislike that's supposed to be likable. I think the kid playing Gus, what's his name?
I've got it.
What's his name? Oh, Christian Convery, who doesn't have a Wikipedia page. He actually, he has a lot of charm. He is very, very likable. If he's not working, this whole series kind of falls apart. And
right,
and the way he's written, he's not written as super annoying. He's not written as grating. He much like his character in the comic, but not nearly as annoying in that sense. He has a sense of wonder about him, and you want to see him be safe and succeed and navigate this terrible world that he's living in. So that's a credit to the show.
Absolutely. The kid, as much as we brag on everybody else, that kid makes that show, just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic, and I don't know where they found him, what he's been in before, but he brings that character to life, which is something that was lacking in the book. Because I'm going to be honest, it looks like they drew him like a big derp. I mean, like he's just like, I got antlers kind of deal, and but I really enjoy I really enjoy his portrayal of Sweet Tooth, because of Gus. He does a really, really good job.
He does. Anything else about episode 2?
No.
What did you think of this gal here who running the preserve? We don't get a lot of detail with her. She's just sort of introduced, and again, it's sort of a slow crawl to her being the shepherd of a bunch of hybrid children.
Until that came about, I was interested in the entire story, but I was like, she was back burner for me.
Yeah,
she's like, okay, that's cool, but this other thing is more interesting.
Yeah. I would say the same thing even for Dr. Singh. Like, I wasn't really interested in what was going on until about the back half of the show.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm very much invested in what happens on this adventure with Gus and Big Man, and I don't really care about the characters. But that changes with episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8. Episode 3, weird deer shit.
Yeah,
these are great titles.
I cracked up when I saw it. I was like, what in the world? And then it made sense.
Gus and Big Man continue on foot to the market, where there's a train that will take
I got
Gus.
You going, didn't I?
No, it's I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Where there is a train that will take Gus to Colorado. Big Man disguises Gus as a human so they can get him on the train, but while purchasing him a ticket, Gus wanders off and meets a young girl in the market who comforts him when he panics. Dr. Singh takes over for Dr. Bell and starts working with the last men who provide him with supplies. He and Ronnie reluctantly attend a party where the host, Doug, is discovered to be infected. The house where the party was at is set on fire with Doug inside to prevent the spread of the sick. As he's about to board the train, Gus smells Big Man's medicine among the boxes being loaded, so they steal the supplies but are caught, and Gus is exposed as a hybrid. The last men, while transporting Big Man and Gus through the forest, are ambushed by teenagers dressed as animals who kill the last men and rescue Gus and Big Man. The leader, dressed as Bear, reveals himself as the girl from the market. General Abbott is informed that she has been found. This was an okay bridge episode to big stuff that's going to happen next. Not a whole lot here to talk about. I mean, so there's definitely sufficient enough tension, in the getting on board the train and getting ambushed by last men and all of that. But not a whole lot else happened in this episode that stands out to me.
It just the end of the episode where they met the animal army piqued my interest, and then I was like, this is getting weird. I mean, not that it isn't already weird, but yeah, I have a weird brain because I'm like, well, that kid with antlers is okay, but this is just getting ridiculous.
This is silly.
People wearing animal furs and killing other people.
Look like a bunch of lost boys from Peter Pan. Episode 4, Secret Sauce. She's got sauce. Baby saucy. Ain't sweet like mine, Roddy Adams. She's got sauce.
She's got sauce. What is wrong with us?
Little G Love and special sauce. Remember that?
Oh yeah, dude. You come at me with that.
Oh, she likes cold beverages. Anyway, secret sauce. Bear instructs the group to shoot Big Man, but Gus protests, shocking the group with his ability to speak. Bear changes her mind about killing Jeopard, much to the displeasure of Tiger. Bear introduces Gus to their home, an abandoned theme park, and tells him about how she is the leader of the animal army that has vowed to protect hybrids at all costs. The group gives Gus many things like candy and allows him to drive go-karts, while Tiger continues to pressure Bear on why they haven't killed Jeopard yet. Bear says she wants to understand why Gus is protecting a poacher. The doctor continues to make medicine for his wife who has the illness, but is unsuccessful as he needs a live hybrid. The couple's nosy neighbor, Nancy, tells the Singhs she wants to hold a citizen's vote on mandatory virus testing every week, worrying Dr. Singh, who fears Ronnie will be exposed. Amy raises the hybrid baby Pigtail as her own in the city zoo, scavenging and avoiding last men. One night, Amy fears an intruder is in the building, but Pigtail reveals that it is her best friend Bobby, an animal who can speak, and asks Amy if they can keep him. Bear reveals to Gus that Big Man was once a last man and has hurt hybrids, but Gus doesn't care, as he says Big Man is his friend, countering that the animal army has hurt people as well. At the execution of Big Man, Bear reveals she will not carry out the execution as we need Gus for future episodes. As it would hurt Gus. That joke was supposed to be as it would hurt Big Man for future episodes. Moving on.
I got you. Yeah, okay.
This leads to hang on. Let me do it right then if you're going to do that.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yes, sir. All right. So
why is John Cameron... Okay. I was like, why is John Cameron racking a shotgun on my screen right now?
Because there's ads in this video that I stole. And I occasionally have to catch it and turn them off. And I don't have ad blocker. This leads to a coup led by Tiger, who tries to proceed with the execution of Jeopard. Big Man and Gus.
We're old men.
Oh, my God.
We're just yawning. It's 10 o'clock.
Big Man and Gus escape with Bear following as she abandons the animal army. Nancy discovers Ronnie has the sick and plans to expose her, but as they argue in front of the Singh's house, she is kicked to death by their horse, like you do.
Which I did not see coming. I hate to laugh at stuff like that, but that was hysterical.
Mm-hmm. And then
nothing like a good horse kicking that makes you laugh.
Yeah, indeed. And then the Singhs hide her body. So I thought this stuff with the animal army arguing over whether or not they should kill Whoosy there, the big man.
Yeah,
that rang true to me. Like I could like the kids are of the belief that hybrids are the next generation of they are the X-Men. They are the children of the atom. And
right.
And the last men did not have exactly a stellar reputation as humanists. They are brutal killers and whatnot. Plus, people are living in a post-apocalyptic world where, and this is a common enough theme. It's a very progressive theme. The idea that people, through poor decision-making and greed, messed up the earth. And, people that inherit the messed up earth are trying to turn things around and making better decisions. So, again, it's a very, I think, anti-conservative, pro-progressive kind of message embedded in the story of this thing.
You think so?
To a degree. I don't think they beat you over the head with it, but when you think about what are the things the animal army is saying, they're saying, it's also very YA. The adults messed everything up. So even
that's what I got mostly from it.
I feel like YA and pro-progressive anti-conservatism kind of travel in all the same circles. There's a Venn diagram that incorporates them both.
I get it. Yeah, I was not actually looking for that and looking not to find anything like that. So I was pleasantly surprised when I didn't get much of it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think they beat you over the head with it, but I think the themes are kind of unavoidable. I think they're laden.
Yeah. Well, they also go the other way, and they show the dangers of there's a pandemic, so we need to test everybody and Big Brother govern everybody. and do mandatory testing, and take away people's, here we go, we're taking away people's civil rights.
Right, but again, I wouldn't couch that as. I would couch that as those are conservative. I guess in the world we're living in, that it's the left pushing those ideas, not the right.
It's the left pushing those ideas, and the right saying, "We're patriots. We want our freedom." Yeah. And I'm known as as one of the few conservatives on your podcast. And I don't talk about politics at all, though, because I just want to love everybody and I want to play games and hang out. But I will say this, as far as it goes, that's where I was like, wow, I did not expect them to say, to show the evils of how far it goes. If it goes too far, they burn a man alive in his own home.
Right.
As far as that goes. Of policing everybody and big brothering everybody and making sure, it's when they stop you at the door and say, "Are you vaccinated?" Well, it's really none of your business because that's medical information, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So we're getting beat over the head with it in 6 ways a Sunday, and as far as I go, I don't ride the middle, but I went ahead and got my jabs because it makes my life easier. I can fly on an airplane now, so
sure.
Things like that. But it's just one of those things where I didn't expect that side of it, but it was almost like they're riding the fence. They're kind of playing devil's advocate with both of it.
I would agree. Before we continue on, let's go ahead. Oh, shut up.
Who, me?
You, the ad, everybody. Let's go ahead and pay some bills here.
Yeah.
We got the skills to pay the bills, don't you think, Ronnie?
We do. Yeah. You do.
You know who's also got the skills to pay the bills?
Who's that?
Grammarly.
No kidding.
Yes, sir. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly everywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork to download Grammarly for free.
There we go.
Episode number 5.
Yeah.
We are now into the back half of the show.
Yes, we are.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the freezer?
I just watched that again the other day.
General Abbott confronts Dr. Bell about her faking a terminal illness and demands to know the location of her notebook. She tells him that she has left it with her replacement, Dr. Singh, and that the hybrids are just children who will be here long after the human race is gone, like you do. General Abbott.
Hey, Abbott.
Has Dr. Bell executed. Jeopard thanks Gus for having his back at the animal army camp and says he will accompany him to Colorado. Bear finds Gus and Big Man and gives them Birdie's last known address. Bear also shows them a path to the railway for the train to Colorado. But the path goes through a valley of sorrows, populated by the purple flower that accompanies the sick. Gus, fed up with their continuous bickering throughout the journey, ventures out into the rickety bridge that crosses the Valley of Sorrows. He falls into the purple flowers. Amy and Pigtail continue to build the preserve for hybrids, but Pigtail is discouraged. She isn't as animal as the rest of the hybrid. I didn't even notice it at first. Like when I saw the picture, I'm like, "Oh, pig nose, okay." When I actually see her, when I saw her in the show, I barely noticed she had any pig in her. The last men find and tag the preserve. While unconscious, Gus encounters Pubba, who tells him to be brave. The other hybrids are counting on him and that the whole world will see him soon. Then in the mirror where Pubba was, he sees General Abbott. Pubba warns him that Abbott is coming, but Gus says he is ready now. Big Man and Bear rescue Gus from the flowers, and Gus forces them to stop arguing. The Singhs continue to cover up Nancy's disappearance as people in the neighborhood declare her missing. Dr. Singh expects a hybrid delivery in order to save Ronnie, who is deteriorating, but the last men deliver a note saying they are out of hybrids. The town discovers Nancy in the freezer, like you do, but Dr. Singh tries to convince them Nancy was sick. Then Ronnie starts showing symptoms, so the town binds them inside and sets the building aflame with rock and roll. The Last Man and General Abbott save the Singhs. All right, Ronnie, episode number 5.
Yeah. The more I watch this, the more I don't like Dr. Singh.
Yeah. He
find him to be cowardly.
He starts out kind of sympathetic, all things considered, and then as the show goes on, you realize that he's
a big piece of crap.
He is a big piece of crap.
I get it. He wants to save his wife.
Sure. Single-mindedly wants to save his wife, like
right. So
at the cost of his soul.
He's killing children.
Yep.
To try to save his wife, whom is also a very selfish human being, but saying, yes, go ahead and kill them so you can save me. And so I find them both to be despicable, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest take I got from this one.
Yep. I want to talk a little bit about Bear joining the Fellowship of the Ring here.
Yeah, that's true.
I kind of wish we had spent more time. I mean, I guess you only had 8 episodes to do this, and what they did in episode number 4 was all you really needed. But I think personally, I would have liked to, since Bear's going to be with them for the rest of the journey. I kind of wish we had spent a little bit more time in the Animal Army before we take off with her. We'll spend more time with her. Yeah, I think we'll spend time with her later. But I think, like, right now, I haven't spent enough time with her to really be that invested in the character.
I totally get that. I'm invested because I'm not invested, but I'm glad she's there because she adds a little extra dynamic to the group.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's the sass while the other two are just kind of like they're getting used to each other.
Yep.
Hulu. But that's my subtle way of letting you know there's an ad on the screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch it now.
Yeah. But I have a feeling that they're going to do a little bit of a backpedal, a little bit of just to add, just to show us more of what she's about and where she came from as well. Because they pretty much have done that. I mean, they're doing that now. I mean, we find out, there's a big climactic, cliffhanger at the end of episode 8. But it's actually I think we're going to get more of that next season.
Yeah, we can talk about this now because it frustrated me with Jupiter's Legacy, especially in light of the fact they just canceled the series.
They canceled Jupiter's Legacy?
Yeah, that's gone now. They're doing like a spinoff for it, but the actual Jupiter's Legacy show with that cliffhanger ending, and that's the point that I'm bringing up. Like, man. They ended this with a cliffhanger. The last thing the lady at the preserve says to Big Man is, "Let's go get our kids back." Yeah. And, okay, that's fantastic. Assuming there's a second season to this, and granted, I don't think it cost as much to do this show as it did Jupiter's Legacy. Jupiter's Legacy apparently was like a $200 million show. But my point being,
get this crap together.
Well, yeah, like they make really weird decisions, and I don't know how much of that is based on how many people watch the show. I know, I think Glow was fairly popular, but because of the pandemic, they ran out of patience and just canceled it. And the cast was like, we have a show ready to go here.
Right.
We are ready to film.
I think they get bored easily. I'm serious. I mean, Netflix has its they have their money makers, I guess you could say. The only one that I know of that's really still going strong is going to be Stranger Things. Right. But they take their good sweet time to get everything out as far as shows go.
I was gonna say I haven't watched House of Cards. I feel like I'm the only person on earth who hasn't.
I'm right there with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's on my list of things to watch, but I have so much other stuff to do just for podcasting. It's hard for me to watch things that I'm not talking about. So it's so funny. Like I have to cajole people into talking about things with me so that I can watch stuff I want to watch. That's how bad this is.
Right. Yeah. But, no, I get it.
But Orange is the New Black ran for what, 6, 7, 8 seasons?
Something like that. Yeah.
And now you can't get past 2 or 3 for most Netflix.
Right.
And these aren't even long seasons. They're 8 episodes.
Black Summer will probably get canceled after next season. The ranch got canceled after. Well, there's 8 parts to it, so 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 2 parts per season, really. So there's 8 seasons technically. But the whole Danny Masterson thing kind of put a damper on that one, where he got blamed for rape. Excuse me, sorry, trigger warning, or whatever. I don't know. But he got accused of sexual assault, and they're like, "Well, you're not in it anymore." And people were kind of like, "Well, we don't want to watch it anymore."
Right.
Which, okay, whatever. But yeah, there's not much going on as far as TV shows that I know of on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something you can find, but I think my more to my point was like, that
hasn't been canceled though. Is what I'm saying.
Right. I guess
there's a ton of.
If you've shot 16 episodes and you only release 8 of them, but it ends with, and the mid-season finale ends with a cliffhanger, so it brings you back for the second half of it. That I'm fine with. If you don't know if you're going to get a second season and you end with a cliffhanger, that shit annoys me.
Right. Okay. Let's look at. It's not a cliffhanger, but I mean, they left a lot of questions unanswered. Going back, pulling out Firefly. Firefly was an amazing show. Yeah, it was, but it was only 1 season because they kind of screwed it over, and then they were like, it just, there was so much that was left unanswered, and they actually aired it out of order. So like everybody was like, what is this? Why is this happening like this? So there's so many good shows that get canceled like that and leave you on cliffhangers, and it's a bunch of crap, man. I hate it. Oh, Cybertron is on. I didn't realize that.
Yep. So long story short here, yeah, it's just frustrating that like we don't know if this is going to get a second season or not, or a second half. But yet they left it on a cliffhanger. Like when they did it, like I know they took over doing Lucifer from Fox, and season 5 they split into 2 parts, but we knew by that point Netflix was already committed to not only the second half of season 5, but a final 6 season to end the entire series.
Right.
I haven't heard one way or the other this is getting it, and yet they don't resolve anything. So it's just frustrating. Episode 6, Stranger Danger on a train. Big Man, Bear, and Gus manage to board the moving train to Colorado, but discover it's not a passenger train. The Singhs bluff that Dr. Singh is working on a cure that is not detailed in the book in order to convince the General Abbott that he must spare both of their lives. On the train, Big Man encounters a friend, a former football player named Jimmy Fat Man Jacobs, who he initially fights in order to protect Gus before he recognizes him. Gus, distraught over the loss of his stuffed animal dog that his papa made him, and wanders off from the group. Amy realizes they have been found by the last man and that the preserve is no longer safe. While looking for Gus, Jimmy asks about Jeopard's wife, unborn child, and other friends who have all passed from the sick. Jimmy also provides information about the location of Gus's mother, Birdie, but neglects to mention that last men members are on board the train. Big Man saves Dog for Gus by pretending to be a last man, but blows his cover, so Jimmy holds the door for the group so they can jump off the train. Jimmy then fights the last man and presumably killed for his efforts. Amy, Wendy, a.k.a. Pigtail, and the other preserve hybrids hack and escape through the tunnels, with Amy remaining behind. Big Man, Gus, and Bear reach Essex County, with Big Man offering to Bear that she can stay with him and Gus if she wants. So we're getting into some pretty heavy stuff here. The action's starting to pick up with episode 6. There's a lot of high tension. But by this point, I remember during my first watch of this, I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? Like, it took so long for the action to get started. Like I said, it was a slow burn to get through the first 4 episodes. Yeah, that things really start to pick up here.
Well, I just like a good story too, and the story was really good for me the first 4 episodes. But now it's getting exciting. Yeah. Now it's getting like the twists and turns are happening, and it's always when you find what you want, you find out more that you don't want to know.
Yeah.
So, as far as the show goes, can I just say Abbott? I don't know where he came from in this, but he's a horrid person. Just awful.
The actor playing him is great.
Oh, he's so great.
Yeah,
that's why I don't like him.
I don't understand why they made him look like Dr. Robotnik.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, why is this character from Sonic the Hedgehog in here?
Right. I was like, you took my rings. I don't know if that's what Dr. Robotnik wanted, but
he wanted Sonic's power.
Power. This guy seems like he's pretty nice. But he's a little weird. He's got the mullet going on. But yeah, it's man. And I knew it was going to end on a cliffhanger, man. And because the way these episodes have been going, I'm just like, don't leave me hanging. And they're going to leave me hanging. And daggone it, they're going to leave me hanging. They left me hanging
on the telephone. Don't leave me hanging on the telephone. Episode 7, When Pubba Met Birdie. A flashback to an expedition to Alaska reveals something discovered in the ice rods, which is packed up and shipped to Fort Smith Science Research, where Pubba is shown to be working as a janitor. Pubba one day encounters Birdie in a bar where he reveals his name is Richard and apologizes for eavesdropping on her earlier conversation with Judy. Birdie reveals she is a geneticist and is upset because she was working on an important project but is now being transferred to a different department. Birdie tells Richard that she found a unique microbe for a vaccine that they have been testing on chicken eggs, which could either save the world or go disastrously wrong. I wonder what's going to happen here. Depending on the execution.
Right.
Richard walks Birdie home where she invites him in. They grow close and almost kiss.
You know how much I've missed and not missed that?
I'm sure. But she gets a call saying the military is taking over the lab. Richard offers to assist her in breaking into the rescue, her project, which is a great first date. Here, let's commit breaking and entering. Gus, Bear, and Big Man get to Birdie's address only to discover that only Judy, Birdie's former coworker, lives there and that Birdie left 10 years ago to go look for Gus. In a flashback, Birdie shows Richard the unexpected outcome from their project, which is the baby Gus. The name Gus stands for a genetic unit series. Richard distracts the military personnel long enough for Birdie to escape with Gus, but Birdie later asks Richard to take Gus so she can return to the lab to destroy her research. In the present, Gus goes through Birdie's files and is confused until Big Man finally tells him, based off the files, that he was created by scientists in a lab. Gus is devastated that he doesn't have any real parents and angrily runs into the woods. Into the woods. I love this episode. I love Gus's reaction. This was the quintessential, my life means nothing.
Absolutely.
It's the Vince McMahon, my life is turned upside down thing. And the actor portraying Gus really handled it well. Like you really felt for him in that episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was, the Pinocchio Geppetto moment, I want to be a real boy. Devastating moment where he finds out he's not a real quote unquote real boy. But it was a little heart wrenching. I'm not gonna lie. This was pretty sad.
For sure.
And it's just one of those things where thankfully, I've been blessed enough to know that my whole life is not a lie. It's just fabrications that I've made it so far, to make me feel better about myself. But, I can't imagine thinking that you've got your whole life figured out. Your dad is your dad and he loves you and everything else, and then you're made in a lab, things like that. And I'm just like, oh gosh, this kid is just tearing my heart out. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. And
hello.
Hi, Mark. That's how I need to greet you from now on.
Hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
It's amazing what a cultural impact The Room has had for being such a terrible movie.
It was a horrible movie, but I love it. I love it so much. He's gone on to make other movies too. This is just mind-boggling. But I mean, this one was good. And then I knew what was going to happen in the next one. I knew it. All right, let's just move on to 8.
Yeah, let's get to the rip-roaring conclusion here. All right, episode 8, Big Man. Big Man. Flashbacks show that when the Great Crumble began, Big Man nearly abandoned his hybrid baby. He eventually changed his mind, but before he could get back to his wife and son, the last man already took them. In the present, such poor timing. In the present, Gus finds an abandoned plane and uses its radio, believing that he is talking to the preserve. He inadvertently gives his location to the Last Man Army. Amy fights against General Abbott and his Last Man Army. She is able to escape, but the hybrids she cared for are captured. General Abbott captures Singh and Ronnie as well and forces Singh to begin working on a cure for the sick. The big man finds Gus and sits with him. However, the last men arrive, shoot big man unconscious. Yeah, I thought he was fucking dead.
I didn't know where it was going. I did too. I was like, no, they can't kill him.
I was
they
like,
didn't kill him in the crappy comic.
And then he gets up later, like, I guess he got better from a gunshot wound to the back.
Right.
And capture Gus. Amy
arrives.
Course,
he didn't do the movie Jerk Forward when he got shot. He took it like a man. He's a pow. He's like, oh, and then he passed out.
All right. Oh, I've been shot. Clunk. Amy arrives and retrieves Big Man's body, takes him back to her hideout, and nurses him back to health. It is revealed that Amy has been intercepting free-to-air radio communications of the Last Man Army. When Big Man awakens, Amy tells him to continue resting and declares they will get their children back by whatever means. Back at the cabin, Bear recalls her childhood memories, revealing that Pigtail was her foster sister. Everyone's related in this show. And also remembers of when her family was taken by the Last Men. She later receives a communication from a phone and answers it as the person on the other line is revealed to be Birdie, hiding in an Arctic area with her research. All right, Ronnie. So that's it. That's the show.
Yeah.
Like I said, we kind of covered this already, but just sort of wrapping up. I'm interested to see what the second half of the show is going to look like. I
am too, man. I'm ready for this.
We left Gus. He had met the other hybrids and Pigtail and all that. Amy and Big Man are together and they're going to mount a rescue. Birdie is alive. She's out there. She's in the Arctic. Will she and Gus reunite? One never knows. So there's a lot here. I want to see the second half of this. I know Netflix likes to release these things in bingeable chunks, and 8 is easier than 16. But I'm just so afraid. I'm so anxious that Netflix is, like you said, just going to get ADD, go squirrel, and all right, that's it. We're done with this now.
Well, you've got a powerhouse couple producing it.
Mm-hmm.
You got it's Susan and Robert Downey Jr. Susan Downey and Robert Downey Jr. So I don't think they're going to let
Nexus will probably commit to the second, at least the second half.
Yeah. So I think we're going to get it mainly because it's freaking Robert Downey freaking Jr. But I'm like you. I'm nervous. Oh man. Because I want to see this through. I want to see what havoc Big Man's going to wreak on the Last Man once he gets his hands on him. Because he killed somebody with a daggone bear trap. That's brutal. That's great.
It is. So look, we spent an hour talking about it, but I think compared to some other TV parties that we've done collectively over the years on the network, we ran through this in fast forward, but the other side of that is it was an entertaining show. I don't want to call it light because it does deal in a very contemporary issue.
There's some darkness in there.
It's dark. It deals with pandemic times, post-apocalyptic times, which I think is very much a product of the age that we're living in. I mean, this is the first year after the pandemic, right? And in some cases around the world, the pandemic's still going on.
It's like they recently went, well, this is a thing. Let's dive into some pop culture and see what we can turn into a pandemic. Post-apocalyptic pandemic.
If this were the 60s, everything would be about like Vietnam and the counterculture revolution and all
Very
of that.
True.
So culture is a reflection of society and whatever ill society is currently going through. And right now, in the early 2000s, it was terrorism in the Iraq War, and culture was a reflection of that. Now we're going through the pandemic. And and in between there, we've had to deal with climate change and how much pop culture was produced because of the anxiety about climate change. I mean, like I can rattle off movies about, like the day after tomorrow and all this other stuff, things like that. I mean, a little before that, we had a pair of like asteroids hitting the Earth because apparently that was an anxiety for a while. Like,
yeah.
We're all afraid of the end of the world suddenly, that sort of thing. So I'm not mad at Robert Downey Jr. and his wife and Netflix for, digging into the comic book world and coming up with a show that reflects anxieties about the pandemic. I don't think there's a better time for it.
I don't think this is preying on fear, though.
No, I don't think so either. I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah, mainly because it's so fantastical to think that something like this could happen, hybrid babies and everything. They're like, okay, this is relatable, but it also isn't preying on fear to make people go, oh my God, we're all going to need to wear hazmat suits for the rest of our lives.
And that's the thing is I think it was handled pretty competently, pretty deftly. I think they dealt with a subject matter that we're all anxious about and is of the times, but they dealt with it in a way that was entertaining and didn't hit you over the head.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, anything else about this? I'll give you the last word.
No, I think, man, this is one of the few newer shows that I've been really, really enjoyed lately. And I'm being serious about this. This has been really good. Great acting, great directing, beautiful cinematography. They know what they're doing with this, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with part 2 of this.
Yep, I agree. All right, that wraps us up for now. We'll, assuming this does get the second half of the season produced, we'll go ahead and we'll do another show. I'll have Ronnie back. We'll do the second volume of Sweet Tooth, and then we'll review. We'll review. Get that out of here. We'll review season 2. Ronnie Adams. Next month, you got to be a part of a pitch meeting, not the Screen Rant show.
Yeah.
You got to be part of a pitch meeting, and it's gonna you were like, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to do a Long Road to Ruin, and I went, oh really? And you said yes.
Yeah.
And so just real quick, Ronnie, you brought up this like series of like B sword and sorcerer movies called Mythica.
I did.
Which is going to debut on July 28th, Wednesday, July 28th. The world will get to hear us talk about Mythica. What's a Mythica, Ronnie Adams?
Mythica. Oh, man. Mythica, A Quest for Heroes is what the very first movie is called. It is a sword and sorcery. It is the perfect D&D campaign put in B-movie glorious format. I mean, Sci-Fi Channel special effects.
Like on the scale of like Beastmaster to Conan the Barbarian, where does
Sci-Fi Network?
Okay, Sharknado.
No, a little better than Sharknado.
It's a little better than Sharknado. Okay.
Yeah. The acting's better in some parts.
I got a better one. Is it like Xena Warrior Princess level?
No, better in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you're going to see that where they spared. They spared money. They saved money on some of the actors.
Yeah.
And spent it on the makeup and props and costumes.
Okay.
Like
Kevin Sorbo's Hercules, maybe?
Kevin Sorbo is in Mythica.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, he's in all 5 movies, I think.
Okay.
I just saw your soul leave a little bit when I said 5 movies because I thought I think you forgot there were 5.
No,
movies.
I have it on my calendar and my little note that I keep track of all 97 million things I've been asked to do. So
right, yeah. So I mean I hated to. Like you said, hey, let's do this, and I was like, well, I've got the perfect movie for you that I want to do. Is Mythica, and so it follows a young girl who is a wizard or sorceress or a magic user in training. She's got a bum leg, so nobody takes her seriously when she wants to become an adventurer. And then she gets, with her fighter friend Thane, who is in a lot of these like. I don't want to say B movies, but I mean, he's in a lot of B movies. I mean, the actor, let me look at his name real quick. Adam Johnson. He's been in he was in Yellowstone recently, which is, not B movie. It's not great either though.
Really?
But
I thought I heard good things about Yellowstone.
I'm not. Yeah, you have. I'm sure that's great, but I'm not a fan. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been in stuff like Dudes and Dragons, Mythica, one called Orcs.
Okay.
You know, things like that. So, you know, that's kind of where I know him from. Orcs is actually a really funny movie. You know, she gets hooked up with her adventuring party, and they go on to find the Darkspore and the Necromancer and all this other stuff. And now, what really got me wanting to watch it is I'm a dungeon master for D&D, for Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the dungeon masters that's like world renowned, and I actually learned a lot of stuff off of, and he's a really, I mean, like, he's a really humble guy when it comes to how good he is, but he's also a voice actor. His name is Matthew Mercer, and he's in later movies of this. He actually plays the big bad guy, as you know, the BBEG, big bad evil guy, and he does a really good job. And you know, he's been in other, you know, live action stuff, but he's mostly a voice actor, you know, anime and video games and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And while it's not great, it's amazing, because it's just like, it's one of those movies that you can just sit back and go, oh my gosh, that's so terrible, but that's just so much fun. You know, a lot of sword fights and crappy CGI for magic and things like that. So, you know, it just, you know, it's not about how well it's made for me. It's about the story that's being told. It's a good story.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to talking that with you, and it'll air on the Radulich Broadcasting Network as part of W2M on July 28th. So I look forward to that. And then I don't know what we're doing after that. I don't know if I have you on anything for August. I got to look at the calendar.
We're gonna play some D&D.
That's right. We are going to play some D&D.
Yeah.
And I know at the end of the year, it's a little early to talk about this now, but I will tell you that you and I talked about doing a joint review of Chef, and then the reality series, the Chef Show.
Yeah.
So I have that scheduled for December.
Perfect, because I love Chef.
Yeah.
Love that movie. I mean, he
great
fixes
movie.
The perfect grilled cheese sandwich in it as well. But I mean, I'm a grilled cheese, you know, I'm a grilled cheese snob, and he fixes the perfect one.
It is so hard for me to watch Chef and not be hungry.
The entire freaking time, man.
All I want to do is eat pork.
Yeah.
You know, we're sitting here talking movies, and we should, you know, we should talk about music.
We should talk about music.
All right. So, Ronnie, what's I know the last time we had you on here was only a few days ago. We talked about getting you into the battle metal. What's one thing that when you play D&D with the kids, what's the kind of music you like to have on the background? You like to do a little Braveheart, like do a little Lord of the Rings?
I stream. With the kids, we don't really do music because it's kind of like herding kittens anyway, to keep them occupied. But when I stream, I have to use a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Non-copyright music.
Okay.
But when I prepare, that's when I listen to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. That's when I listen to Sabaton and The Who. Not The Who, but The Who.
Yeah,
HU.
Yeah.
And then
you ever listen to any Alien Weaponry?
I haven't. Should I?
You should listen to Alien Weaponry.
Okay, I will then. I trust you on this.
Well,
because I think you made that up. But
no, it's a real band. I promise. I think they actually have an album coming out. But Alien Weaponry, The Who, or The Who, whichever you like.
Yeah,
that's all available on AmazonMusic.com. And if you click our link it is. And if you click our link in the description of GetAmazonMusic.com/W2M Network, you can get a free 30 days of Amazon Music for free. Get 30 days to stream all the music you like. And then if you like it, you keep it. If you don't, you cancel it. No fuss, no muss. How about that, Ronnie Adams?
That's amazing.
Have a free 30 days of Amazon Music on us. And then you can have a drink on me. You can have a drink on me. You can have a drink on me. And then you can listen to AC/DC's Have a Drink on Me when you're streaming for free on AmazonMusic.com.
And if you find Mark out in a bar somewhere and you play, you have one of those little jukeboxes that you can play music on, you play Have a Drink on Me, he'll buy you around.
I will buy you around.
I just made that up, and I'm probably going to get yelled at later.
It's fine. All right, Ronnie Adams. A quick do my plugs, and then we'll get out of here.
Absolutely.
So wrapping up this week, again, you and I talked. We kicked off the week with Robert Winfrey's re-airing of Everyone Loves a Bad Guy Pixar villains. Jeff Harris back in the day was on that show. That's in the archives. You and I reviewed Out of the Woods, Sweet Tooth Volume 1. Myself, Robert Winfrey, Alexis Hana, and my kids reviewed Luca from Pixar. Tuesday, myself and Chris Bailey reviewed Hell in a Cell, and then myself and Pat Mullen did the next chapter in our Four Kings boxing retrospective. This time on Marvin Hagler, Marvelous Marvin. Jesse Starcher and I reviewed the new Fear Factory last night, Aggression Continuum. Tomorrow, F9 comes out. We will start re-airing a whole bunch of our old Fast and Furious stuff, beginning with Fast and the Furious 7, or Furious 7, rather. Furious 8's actually already in the archive, so if you want to go back and listen to that while you're waiting to go see F9, that's already there. But we'll also be re-airing for the first time on this feed Furious 7. And then starting Saturday and continuing into Sunday, we have a 2-part Long Road to Ruin on the Fast saga from back in the day. That's Robert Winfrey and Sean Comer during one of my exoduses. I had to take a break from the show, probably to birth a child of some kind. And I turned it over to Robert Winfrey and Sean Comer. And I actually want to say I probably told them to do the Fast and the Furious because around that time F7 had just come out. So Saturday, June 26th is part 1 of the Fast saga, parts 1, 2, and 3. And then on Sunday is part 2. Also debuting this weekend is our Tripped Up Trivia for female superheroes featuring Jesse Starcher, Alexis Hana, and the group over at the MCU's Bleeding Edge. That's Jeff Sloboda's podcast about all the Marvel movies. So you can check out our Tripped Up Trivia. And the beats don't stop, Ronnie Adams. No, sir.
That's right.
Another one of Jesse's solo shows, I think, or he might have had somebody on for this, but it was one of those weeks where apparently he took over the Radulich Broadcasting Network and just did nothing but what ifs. So this is What If Wolverine Killed the Hulk. This is a syndicated source material from back in the day. So that's all Saturday. Saturday's a loaded day full of shit that is new to the feed, but has been aired before. Next week, it's kind of a weird week. It's a little bit of a short week. I had to make some changes, but we got a re-airing of our Black Country Communion review. Myself and Evan Bevins will review Cosmic Ghost Rider, Baby Thanos Must Die. We'll have a review of F9, the Fast Saga. We'll have a re-airing of Testament, Dark Roots of Earth. Is that the right title? Yeah, Dark Roots of Earth. Myself and Sean Comer will do an on trial for the movie Spun. You know what Spun is, Ronnie Adams?
What's that?
It's about meth.
I thought so.
And then on Friday, a whole bunch of shit's coming out Friday. You got Werewolves Within, the Tomorrow War on Amazon, Boss Baby on Peacock and Day and Date in theaters, Monsters at Work on Disney Plus, and The Forever Purge. So my kids and I will have a commentary track for the first Boss Baby that'll release on July 2nd. We'll have another Flashback Friday, Damn You Hollywood. This is me and Jeff Harris from year 1 doing a double review. We're doing Monsters University and The Lone Ranger. And that's that. That's all I got for you. Nice. So, yeah. Content, Ronnie Adams. That's how we roll here. All right, so that's it. That's all for me. Thanks. I'm driving. Ronnie Adams, always a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Check me out on Twitch, Misfits and Miscreants. We play D&D and video games.
Better yet, check him out on TikTok.
I haven't made a TikTok in a while. I need to make one.
You should make one. You should make a TikTok.
I'm going to make one either tomorrow or Saturday.
You should stitch my son dancing to you dancing.
That's creepy. I don't think I'll do that.
We could just get a weird white people dancing thing going.
Why is this old dude dancing with this little boy? This is weird.
This is weird, man.
I swear I know him.
Speaking of weird, that's all for TV Party tonight. For Ronnie Adams, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.